the 53-man cut down day is Tuesday, August 30th at 1 p.m. Pacific. So given that the Niners have a bunch of position battles, given that you expect guys to get claimed off their team, I would think it'd be pretty stunning if Jimmy were still on their team past that date, right? If they used a roster spot on him. Now, they don't have to cut him till September 10th when his contract becomes guaranteed, but they're not keeping him, Pat. They got to give him let the Seahawks come get him by next Tuesday, right?
You would think. I mean, I you know where I stand. I have no problem if you tell me they announce cutting him tomorrow, like Friday. Just move on with this. Because we talked about the last time we talked, like 48 hours ago. How are they that scared? What? Do you remember when, I mean, it's one of the more historic kind of crazy moves, and it kind of backfired originally because he traded Drew Bledsoe to the Bills. The Bills played the Pats week 1, and Bill lost, but obviously won the wars. They, I think, won the Super Bowl. But my point is, Bill Belichick was not scared of Drew Bledsoe, who, listen, he had some flaws, but he was a better player than Jimmy Garoppolo. How could they possibly be worried about, like, the optics? Like, what if he beats you? Like, how are you even thinking that?
I think
what could they be worried about?
I think my read just after listening to Lombardi is they want to. It's a very analytical approach. Like if there's a 60% chance of them winning without him and a 63% chance of them winning with him, then we won't let them have him. I think listening to Lombardi, his tone was just they want to make it as hard on Seattle as possible. Shane Waldron, like Jimmy wants to go somewhere where he knows the verbiage. Shane Waldron, the verbiage is going to be similar. Like Jimmy's going to
honestly, it could be the same, right?
Well,
he's
same,
big,
yeah, exactly the same. So Jimmy could,
so if he knows the offense
really quickly, and they just want to delay it. They want to make it as hard on Seattle as possible. Which, when you say it that way, I do think is understandable.
Okay, let's do a hypothetical. Jimmy is released. Let's even pick Tuesday, right? Okay. Whenever early next week, he signs with Seattle immediately because unlike Trey Sermon or whatever, he is not subject to waivers. Jimmy Garoppolo will be a free agent. He can sign with any team. He doesn't have to pass. Teams aren't going to claim him. And even if they could, obviously, there's only so many teams couldn't claim the contract. If he signs with the Seattle Seahawks, is he the starting quarterback? Let's say he signs by Wednesday afternoon. Is he starting quarterback week 1 in their game against Denver?
So they acquired him on October 30th in 2017. How many days until his first game?
It was a couple weeks, but remember, he did not know the offense, and later they talked about it was kind of crazy. We just kind of ran some certain plays that Jimmy liked, and we changed a bunch of stuff on the fly. Like you said, he's been in the offense now longer than he was even with New England. And even if Waldron changed the names of what McVay and Kyle, I think they could figure it out, get on the same page pretty quickly.
Yeah, so they acquired him on the 30th. He missed 2 games, and then he started. Maybe they had a bye, and then he played on the 26th. So he basically almost a month. I think if they got him by next Wednesday and had a week and a half to get him up to speed,
play on Monday night too,
Denver,
right? Monday night, right,
against Denver,
is at home in Seattle.
I think you'd play him because you want to play him against the Niners the next week. Now you could argue give him another week. It's kind of crazy. Don't get him hurt. Let's debut him the next week. You got to play him against the Niners. He would have to be your quarterback by week 2, right?
I
think he'd play week 1. I think Pete Carroll would be like, fuck it. This is my thing. 100 miles an hour, all gas, no brakes, full speed mistakes. Jimmy, let's go get him, babe. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say it would be on the table. Now, it also depend on, it feels like they kind of want Drew Lock to start. I've said over and over, I would probably try to avoid that if I get some money. If I was Jimmy and Pittsburgh called, now maybe they just want to go with Kenny Pickett. It kind of feels that way. I saw someone say that's starting to lean. If Kenny Pickett's going to be in the mix, they're not going to sign Jimmy Garoppolo, right?
Yeah, right. Which that I agree with.
That I understand.
He knows where the bathrooms are.
And you would watch tonight going, if that guy's healthy, whether the Texans turn out to be competitive this year or not, you and I were texting about, they got to find out about this guy, right? They are not replacing him right now. Now, maybe if in 2 months, this guy's he's not that good. Even though every time I watch him, he's got a little something there. Mm-hmm. I feel like Kyle's God, I kind of like this guy.
To me, you don't end that to go do Jimmy Garoppolo.
No, because I get Seattle because ultimately I say this all the time. Pete ain't trying to lose. Like Pete is not talking like they suck. I think he's like invigorated of the new guys and the juice, and I bet he thinks like, could I compete for a wild card spot? He doesn't. You think Pete's thinking about? I know you know this, but I think a lot of people think they're just cool with sucking. Like Pete's 71 years old. Pete, what 70-year-old who's as crazy as Pete Carroll is cool with just having like a shitty year? Now maybe by November 30th, if he realizes I'm not going to get fired or whatever, like it's big picture stuff. Let's play young guys. But the first, I'd say 7-8 games, Pete Carroll's fucking swinging for the fences. He's won too much to start losing, right? Same with Bill. Like once you've won that long, you ain't about losing anything. Now, maybe lose a game for the big picture, but like lose a season, like have a 3-win season. Remember when they went 9-7 and John Schneider's like, yeah, it felt like we won 2 games this year. Like they have been pretty spoiled up there.
Yeah.
Even last year was kind of a disaster. And it was really just because Russell broke it. If Russell hadn't hurt his hand, they would have been right there in the wild card mix, right? They were just screwed once he missed those 3 games. And then remember, he got back and I think they might have played Denver and it was clear he wasn't right. So even when he came back, he wasn't right. But if Russell Wilson's just 100% healthy all year, I bet they're thinking like, yeah, we got a flawed team or whatever, but we're right there. We're right there to win 9-10 games with the Saints and the Niners. Fuck, we beat the Niners twice.
Yeah. Remember, you don't have to be a Super Bowl contender. If you can be in the 7, 8, 9 win range, now you're playing games that matter in November and December, right? Because that's 9 was the playoffs last year in the NFC, right? So
well,
and they went 7-10 last year. The Seahawks.
I think people think they were way farther away than people realize.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they were. I'm a little jaded. So are you. So was anyone that watched because they beat the Niners in one game. I think the final score was 28-21, but it was 21-6. It felt a lot. The game wasn't that close. Game was not that close.
No,
I mean, they ran a punt in from 80 yards. No one touched them.
A fake punt, to be clear, not a received punt.